What's an embarrassing phase you went through? My 9th and 10th grade years. Black leather motorcycle jacket heavily customized with spikes, leopard print fabric, band patches, stripes made with whiteout. Black jeans sewn tight with more band patches. Black band shirts with sleeves and collar ripped off. 14-inch Doc Martens boots. Studded, bondage, and/or bullet belts placed loosely around the waist. And I'm deaf and almost never attended a concert. What a fucking poser. During an introductions game on the first day of 2nd grade, 6-7 yo, I told the entire class that Amanda Bynes was my stepsister. I then kept up the charade for the school year. One kid even asked for an autograph and I gave him a piece of notebook paper with her name written down in my baby cursive handwriting. On the internet where I ain't got a face. The process took years to get past the so deeply ingrained hate that I held, and it was legitimately a struggle. I was a fascist. Very much racist, very sexist, extremely homophobic, and was working my way down the Jew blame pipeline. Supported Russia invading Ukraine in 14, hated Middle Easterners, while 9 yards. Also a weiraboo, naturally. What changed was really college plus studying abroad in 16. Got out of the small hometown and saw new cultures, met new people, got to talk to an actual Afghan refugee once, which was cool, and really learned some basic fucking empathy. It's a very condensed version of a very long story. But I've done pretty much a 180 on political views at this point, fortunately, except guns, still love me guns. But dear God, do I cringe at what I used to be. I genuinely hate my past self, for it was nothing but hatred and fear of others. Edit, thank you all for the kind words, this got more attention than I thought or intended. It's admittedly easier to talk about. I used to wear an old, thrifted black trench coat and fake Birkenstocks to school in the 90s with a knitted beret. I wasn't sure if I wanted to be goth or grunge. But I was mostly supporting myself and definitely didn't have the money to buy more than a few pieces of clothing a year anyway. 100% was a pick-me girl in my late teens/early 20s. Any antic you've seen in a teen rom-com, I probably did it. I'm no longer that person and haven't been for years, but damn many times someone brings up pick-me's I internally cringe at who I used to be. ETA, just to clarify, I didn't intentionally put down other girls and I never thought ill of other girls just because they were prettier or smarter than me, but I was friends with girls who, the second a friend would walk away, would instantly start bitching about her, and I'd always join in just to be cool, which isn't any better. Also, my behavior definitely changed around guys. I didn't notice it at first, but I had some friends call me out for it, which I'm genuinely grateful for. And yes, I did the whole look at me thing in between two guy friends having a face-off. I wanted to throw up just writing that out. Dear God, who was I? After I graduated from boot camp in the Navy and finished a school in Florida, I went home on leave and wore my dress blues to IHOP when I went to dinner with my family. This was back when the military was glamorized, so I considered it celebrity status. I was young and it was the pinnacle of achievement for me and wanted to show it off. And I figured I had the right to because I earned it. Now, I cringe every time I think back to when I did that. Crying over dudes who treated me like garbage. Embarrassing. I'm in my early 30s and last year was dating a 24-year-old woman. We would go out to bars and I would sit and listen to all her friends complain and cry about dating the shittiest men, and then as soon as they got to a place where they felt okay again, they would hit up those guys to go fuck again. It was exhausting to have to hear about it every day. Seems like something most people grow out of. I have a thing where I pick up words and just use them a lot for no good reason, and I can't help it. Ever. It happens pretty automatically. The worst one I had was ahoy. Said ahoy instead of hi and a lot of other things. I wish to forget. Currently it's goofy, which arguably is a lot better than saying ahoy to everything. I'm not like other girls. I tried so hard to be one of the boys and even made a career of it. Which ended up well, but goddamn, I was so cringe. Now I love my girlfriends, and I'm still not good at makeup, that's a real skill, but I love to occasionally dress up, wear heels, whatever. In junior high, I went to Chess King and bought a black nylon button-down shirt with a red Japanese sun cheaply printed on the back and red Japanese characters down the front. It had a big floppy collar and glossy black buttons. I wore that shit to school with the top 3 buttons unbuttoned. A 13-year-old kid in a rural New England town in 1986 wearing a cheap, shiny disco shirt that's at least 8 years out of fashion tucked into his tough skin jeans without a belt. Pure class at recess. Reading Kurt Vonnegut in high school started that phase for me. That idea that everything is bullshit, along with my parents going through a nasty divorce, really turned me off to basically everything. Didn't take the SAT, didn't go to college. Never wanted to work in an office. Now that I'm 31, it's definitely changed and I would love an office job, but I still think everything is bullshit. It's what we always did. Rednecks kicked the shit out of punks, punks kicked the shit out of mods, mods kicked the shit out of skinheads, skinheads took out the heavy metal guys, and the heavy metal guys beat the living shit out of new wavers, and the new wavers did nothing. What was the point? Final summation: none. I was a wolf girl in late primary school. My favorite show was Wolfblood, fucking amazing show BTW, and there's a scene where Rydian's GF Maddie moves away suddenly and he'll never get to see her again, so he goes up a hill one night and howls at the moon. After I saw that episode, I went to school and copied him, pretending to be sad and howling at the sky. My classmates, rightfully, made fun of me. Being a tween is weird. I went through a weeboo stage. I had a lot of embarrassing phases growing up, but that was probably the worst one. Some runner-ups include wanting to be a hip-hop dancer. I have zero rhythm, and at the time I was very fat. The only upside to they one is I learned to pop and lock, but just with my arms. Went through an emo phase, once again, very fat teen that was no meant for skinny jeans, and I wasn't allowed to straighten my hair, so I tried my best to keep to the look while sporting a loose curl afro. Went through a cringy phase where I wanted to be goth and be called something stupid like Raven Blood or something like that. I thought that drawing spider webs on my face was a perfect everyday look. I read in a magazine once that purple lipstick looks amazing on dark skin. I went on to buy as many shades of purple lipstick that I could find. I wore it all the damn time. Looking back, I looked like a clown. I have yet to see anyone pull of purple or green lipstick. Looks like the person is poisoned. Hey, that's 2/3 of my main lipstick colors. I get a lot of compliments on them, so I assume I look okay. TBF, you have to be extremely picky about what shade of green. I like an emerald green, some might look better in forest green, some might do well with a light spring green. Seafoam needs to die in a ditch. And coverage is everything. There is no such thing as a sheer black/green/blue/etc. Full coverage or go home. Crystal/New Age spirituality girly. I went through a hippie/crystal phase for a little bit, but I never actually believed in crystals lol, I just liked the aesthetics. It was a fun little phase and helped me to be more open to trying different styles. I'm also a stoner, so it was bound to happen at some point. My 72-year-old dad types like this, and it absolutely isn't a phase. But it is cringe. But not the most cringe thing he does. Bless his cottons. Interesting thing about this is apparently this style of writing is popular among boomers because back in the day when people would write notes, and there wasn't enough room on the paper to move to a new paragraph to emphasize a break, they would use an ellipsis instead. And that practice has carried over into their typing. Super annoying to read though, because to my eyes it looks like they're constantly trailing off in thought. Although they are boomers, so maybe it's accurate lol. I used to let the gay guy at my high school suck me off a lot. I never told anyone, and even after I got a girlfriend we had met up twice. Dunno why you find that embarrassing, woman shrugging. I think a lot more dudes have experimented than they'll ever admit to because of the stigma. There were plenty of closeted ones at my school that would deny being gay but always tried to trick you into doing something gay. Wouldn't it be hilarious if we watched a romantic comedy and cuddled the whole time? We should pretend we are about to kiss and get closer and closer. First person to pull away loses. My parents said our water bill is getting too high, so if you want to take a shower we gotta share. What? It's not even that weird, don't be a pussy. Dude, look at this massive boner I got. I think this is the hardest it's ever got, like seriously touch it. No, not in a gay way, I am serious, just feel how hard it got. It would be hilarious if we watched some gay porn. Like we should just see what it looks like and laugh at it. We should play truth or dare. Go ahead, dare me to do anything I'll do, I never back down. Dare me to make out with a dude or suck his dick. I'll do it cause it's a dare. Anti-woke/SJW owned /Ben Shapiro /Reddit/racism/sexism. All that was in 7th grade. All at the same time. I'm so surprised I had friends that were actual good people. I'm surprised that to this day, there are people that still talk to me from the 1 year I spent at my 7th grade school. I'd a killed the shit out of little me. I went through a phase of product of childhood trauma, until I got into therapy. It saved me, but damn it if I don't feel like I was robbed of a childhood and 20s. I could have been normal, and things would have been so much better. I guess I got it at 30 instead of 70, so there's that. I hate admitting this, but I was a female in middle school and high school. I would post man-hating things on Facebook, then be confused as to why I couldn't get a boyfriend. It took a friend publicly calling me out to realize I was not a good person. I also hissed at people on the bus. That probably didn't help in the relationship department. Between 7th and 11th grade, I only listened to rap music. I epitomized the term, dare I say it. I'm gonna say it, wigger. I'm talking about the mid-90s here, so that word was commonly used to describe me and my ilk. I look back at that time period in my life and cringe at the music I listened to, my rap performances in my bedroom, in front of my mirror, alone, of course, the group of friends I hung out with, the clothes I wore, and so on. Also, in 10th grade I invented my own religion and wrote about it. A lot. My folks, uber Catholics. My dad is a fucking Catholic priest. Not joking, he actually is. Found my stack of religion papers and notebooks. It was awful. I'm still embarrassed about it when the subject comes up. Went through a whole I'm not like other girls phase. Looking back it was painful but also kinda sad. As a homeschooled kid I didn't really know many other girls except for a few that were really girly. It was only when I went to a different homeschooling group that I realized that most girls are literally not like other girls, because they all have different interests and dress styles. When I started as a warehouse worker in my last job, I was acting like some massively entitled health and safety manager for a few months. Any tiny little thing went wrong and I'd just complain about it or write emails. I look back now and cringe. I got a job in an IT department. I wore clothes that apparently made me look like some sort of investigator, blue blazer, grey slacks. People treated me so nicely and with deference. My boss thought it was hilarious, so he never told anyone what I was doing when they would ask. It was delicious. I was the cringe racist and sexist kid in middle school, would go on about how much I love Trump and guns yada yada. I live in Australia for fuck's sake. I became very lonely because no one wanted to be friends with me. I had a few friends but they had the same beliefs, so I was caught in an echo chamber. To this day I'm so grateful I never had my head bashed in by certain ethnic groups at my school. I said some terrible things to people who didn't deserve it, and it keeps me awake to this day. I ended up going to gym and having a wake-up call when I discovered my passion for music and drums. Within the span of 2 to 3 months I outgrew that edgy racist phase and became a decent human being who had many friends, from different backgrounds. It took about 2 years for people to regain my trust and to not feel embarrassed to be caught standing near me. I guess it was a combination of pure luck. And a lot of fucking effort as to how people started talking to me again once I started acting normal. I remember during one lunch break I just went and sat at the popular kid group table and relied on faith to back me up. We all ended up talking and I sorta asked for forgives from a few people at the table. They were really welcoming and understanding, which to this day I'm forever grateful for. The best part about my redemption/glow up is that I caught the attention of my crush. We've been together for 4 years. Smile. Currently living one. Unfortunately I am 25, got the genes of my biological dad. I do not consider him my dad. He has a very bald head which I always hated. So as a solution I decided to take a hair transplant as I do not seem to go completely bald. To not go bald, you gotta go nearly bald for this surgery, unless you want to look like a plucked bird. So now I'm waiting out the progress of my hair regrowing. Basically wearing a baseball cap all day, except when I'm with family. 2 to 3 more months left to go. Back in the 90s starter jacket trend, I begged my parents to buy me one, but I knew nothing about the teams. Picked Miami Dolphins because I liked dolphins and the colors of the jacket. But then people would ask me about the team and I had to lie all the time or admit I just like dolphins, upside down face. I was in 6th grade when Livestrong bracelets became popular. I got one, loved it. Wanted more, rainbow of different causes, wore 2 at a time, then 3, all the way up to 14. On one wrist, always put on in the same order every morning. I wore them like this until my senior year of high school. Wore a fedora everywhere from 2007 to 2011. I love hats but never wore fedora because my mother wouldn't stop calling them cocksucker hats. I thought she was lying. So one day at the store I tried one on and said, "Mom, no one calls these cocksucker hats. Why do you keep calling them that?" No joke, some 80 to 90-year-old lady pops her head out from the next aisle and says, "Yes honey, they are cocksucker hats." WTF. I went through the phase where I thought if you worked hard and did your job diligently and without error, that you'd be noticed and rewarded. Same. For me, it started out being true. I busted my ass in a new role that was left vacant when the previous person burnt out and quit. Got a $200 gift card incentive award, and a little acrylic plaque for my team-centric can-do attitude. Then I got a $100 gift card and a pat on the back at my performance review. Then I blinked and it was 2 years later. I had gained 30 pounds because my boss told me I wasn't allowed to use the gym during my unpaid lunch break because he tried to call me and I wasn't there. I missed at least one entire night of sleep a week to run a prod release. I had grey hairs at 26. I didn't fully wake up and realize what I had become until I was listening to my boss yell at me on the phone that I was not taking my daughter trick or treating because I had to run this release or the company would lose some totally made up number of customers to the competitor. I went to tell my wife, then I saw the look on her face, called my boss back, and told him I'd be back online in 6 hours when my daughter was in bed. Then I logged off, put my phone on vibrate, and spent the evening with my family. 5 days later, I was randomly selected to be laid off at the end of the year. I was being replaced by a guy in India who was going to make 1/3 of my hourly rate. There is not even a trace of all of my hard work over those 2 years. My next job was strictly 9 to 5 and paid 50% more. The first 50 years of my life, I was an attention-seeking, self-absorbed asshole. After I did a heartfelt examination of myself, I knew I had to change. Now, as I scrape up against 60 years old, I feel so much better about myself, knowing that the world doesn't revolve around me. I feel like I wasted a half-century of my life until I got it. I spoke in a fake British accent for a whole month at school. I worked with a bartender that was in his 30s and spoke in a fake British accent 100% of the time. About once a month he would get busted by someone from the UK for his phony accent. They would ask questions about where he lived and he didn't even have the most basic answers. There was about 2 years, from 20 to 22, 2008 to 2010, that the majority of my wardrobe consisted of tap-out and affliction gear. And a black leather jacket everywhere I went. Thankfully, I met my wife during that time, and gradually got rid of it all. I looked like an absolute douchebag, lol. Poor. If you've ever seen or heard of a show called Ugly Betty, that was me. Weird curly hair, huge round plastic glasses with think lenses that stuck out of the side. That's all Medicaid would cover. We would get our clothes from the warehouses that have bales and bales of really old clothing. I remember literally climbing mounds of filthy clothing that were 5 feet tall and digging through them for hours because it would only cost my mom a few bucks to get us clothes. It was around 7th, 8th grade. It was 2006 to 2007 back then. Suddenly wearing semi-long, think like young Justin Bieber or emo haircut with bangs became very popular among boys in my school. Me and my friends grew our hair out. Now watching back at class photos of these times, boy did we look ridiculous. What's funny is the trend started like out of nowhere and ended just as fast. It was literally like 6 to 9 months period where basically every guy at my school was rocking this kind of haircut. And then everyone kinda forgot about it and went back to more standard haircuts seemingly overnight. Oof. I did something similar when my first long-term relationship / first love ended. I was heartbroken and couldn't accept it was over. Even though I was hurting, my behavior was super cringe and probably only reinforced to them that they did the right thing by breaking up with me. Back in the late 90s I went through a wannabe gangster phase where I would dress from head to toe in baggy FUBU clothes. I even had one of those cheap fake FUBU chains you buy from the markets. Kinda strange seeing a 16-year-old Aussie kid thinking he is a gangster from the hood, but at the time I thought I was cool, kinda embarrassing to think about now. I wanted several of my friends, whom I always thought were so much cooler than me, to believe I was psychic, and to prove it to them, I even told my mom in front of them. What, mom? I can see the future. I even wrote in my diary as if I was psychic in case my friends read my diary when I left the room. I was 11, so it's not a huge deal, but it still makes me cringe. Born in 1999, I had a huge emo phase in 6th, 7th grade. I was a scrawny blonde boy with glasses and I grew my hair out to that Bieber length, wore skin-tight skinny jeans, checkered Converse and silly bands. I thought I was dark and brooding, listening to Blood on the Dance Floor. I would lie to my Roblox friends, saying I cut myself. Part of me dies inside thinking about it now. Uck.